Welcome to the SocketShop channel. Today we're taking a look at the Kobalt double drive screwdriver set. Kobalt is a Lowe's brand, so you can get these at Lowe's, or I'll put a link down in the description where you can buy them online. And I'll also put a link to the screwdriver set that I would recommend. So be sure to check out the video description below. I'm also going to do a review of their auto-adjusting Magnum grip pliers, so check out the video description for links to that as well. As far as the screwdriver set goes, I'm going to give you a quick unboxing here and then tell you whether I would recommend it, and then I'll go into a full test against a normal ratcheting screwdriver and do a long video comparison, but I'll put the nitty-gritty here in the first couple minutes for all you guys that don't want to watch the whole video. So in the box, you're going to get your little screwdriver. You're going to get your bit box, and you're going to get your big screwdriver. Alright. Big screwdriver is kind of heavy. It's got a big gear drive there in the middle that kind of makes it end heavy like that. Otherwise, it's got a pretty good feel to it, besides being really big and kind of heavy. The little screwdriver does have a nice light feel to it. It's compact. It feels like you could use it really well. Little screwdriver actually has a much better feel to it for doing things like little electronics or anything you might want a little screwdriver for. The bit box, it's I guess it's decently designed. It's kind of big for what it's doing. The big bits, you get a nice assortment there. They are stored pretty compact, but the little bits are kind of off at an angle and take up the whole bottom half, and there's only, 10 of them there. So I think they could have made it a little bit more compact, but it does a pretty good job, and it works. It's a nice little bit set. As far as the double drive thing goes, is it practical? Do you want to buy one of these double drive screwdrivers? Is it worth having in your go-to toolbox or tool bag? Unfortunately, it's not as practical as it seems. All right, despite the the worm drive or the differential drive adding quite a bit of weight right there in the center, making the screwdriver much bigger and heavier than like a standard ratcheting screwdriver. That's you could live with that if the worm or the differential drive actually did a decent job and did what it was supposed to. But honestly, it doesn't actually work the way you'd hope it would work. Alright? In order for the double drive to work, and basically the double drive means that whether you're turning the handle forward or backward, it's always going to be turning the direction that you have it set to, forward or reverse. Okay? Good idea in theory, but in practicality, you have to be holding the center collar in order for that differential drive to work. Okay? That by itself is not a real big deal breaker. Alright? I can live with that. Let's see if we can get this to focus here. Alright? I could live with holding the handle as long as you're not working on something where you have to hold the object you're working on. I could live with coming up here and holding that collar and using that to give me twice the speed, alright? But, alright, I went to actually test this thing out. Alright, I've got a standard drywall screw and a 2x4 here. Alright, and I was going to do time trials. I was going to, do this. I was going to time how long it took me to do it with this thing and how long it took me to do it with a standard ratcheting screwdriver. And then I realized it's not going to work if you require a whole lot of torque or force. Alright, for some reason the gear drive stops working and just works as a normal ratcheting bit when you require more than just a little bit of force to screw or unscrew something. Alright, so let's unscrew this. Set it to unscrew, and we'll try it first in ratchet mode. So every time I turn it, my return swing is just ratchet clicking. Alright, not doing anything. Alright, so in theory here, now all I'd have to do is hold this collar, and I'd be turning it both ways, right? Nope. it's turning the whole collar. So there must be some sort of like resistance or force-driven latch in there that keeps it from working in the opposite mode when you require, you know, even a little bit of tension here. All right. Let's see at what point it actually starts working. Not yet. Still turning. There it goes. So it was pretty much out. Pretty much out all the way before it even let me use the fancy double drive setup. Alright. That's kind of a deal breaker to me, because half the time I'm unscrewing something that, you know, requires at least a mild amount of force to screw or unscrew. And as big, bulky, and heavy as this thing is, it's not worth it if it's only going to work when I'm doing like a machine screw that's already loose. I mean, I'm sure that's what they showed on the commercial, is like unscrewing a bolt or a machine screw that's just free threading with probably a well-greased thread, you know. But in all practicality, it's just a ratcheting screwdriver. Let's set it to forward. Come down here. Alright. Let me get it started, alright? Get it started. Yep, there it goes. Right about there it even stopped doing the double drive, alright? Let's go to the two-handed thing, alright? I've got this piece of wood clamped to the table because when I first set up this test, I was trying to do this, you know, I was trying to screw it in and hold the double drive, and I couldn't hold the piece of wood, it was just turning the piece of wood, so I had to clamp that down. Most screwdrivers you want to be able to use at least 90% of the time one-handed, and if you even want to be able to try to use the double drive, you have to use two hands. So that's a second deal breaker to me. It's just not practical. Usually I need to hold something, alright? It's just not that practical. Now as far as the standard ratcheting setup goes, it does work pretty well. It's got a nice solid feel. It's, you know, it's beefy enough that it's holding it all the way down. I'm doing it one-handed. You know, it works pretty well as just a standard ratcheting screwdriver. But when it comes down to it, you don't need something that big or heavy. This is my go-to ratcheting set. And let's be honest, most of the time these days, I just go to my my Bosch impact driver or my Bosch drill. The only time I go to this setup is when I need one of the bits out of it. So in this modern day and age, impact drivers are so light, so cheap that I use this thing for pretty much everything. I used to keep one of these ratcheting screwdrivers in my toolbox at all time, and I still do, but I hardly ever use it anymore. I used to use them for everything from switch plates to electronics, and I loved being able to get my Torx bits out of the handle there. And there just came a point when these were light enough, and the 12-volt batteries are 30-minute charge, and you can have like two of them. This is what I use nowadays, alright? I still keep both a large and a small screwdriver set with all the bits I could ever need in my tool bag or in my truck at all times. Most of the time with the big one, I'm only using the bits. This one's got a nice bit set. It's got all the Torx bits with the holes in the centers. I got both metric and SAE Allen sets, and I've even got sockets in there. So I mainly keep this this thing around as a good bit set, although the ratcheting screwdriver is a pretty good setup too, and I do use that on occasion too when I don't want the power of a thing. But this is a nice ratcheting screwdriver. It doesn't have the heavy feel. It's about probably less than half the weight of that. It's got a nice easy ratcheting setup. I'll put a link down in the description below to this one as well. But this is my go-to ratcheting screwdriver now. Works really well, and it's got all the bits. I could probably get away with just a good bit set and use it with my impact driver, if I'm being honest. But I do now keep that in my truck at all times. Alright? So let's get into the little screwdriver. The little screwdriver has its merits. It's actually not that bad. I'm going to contemplate whether I want to take that around with me or not. But when it comes to a little screwdriver set, there's two things you're looking for. You're looking for your bits. You want to make sure you have all your bits that you could possibly need with that screwdriver. And you want the ergonomics to be right on. Alright? You want an end that free spins so that you can use your palm to push down while you're spinning. Most little screwdrivers, even those cheap little like eyeglass screwdriver sets, have that. Alright? Now when it comes to this Kobalt one here, where you naturally tend to want to grab is right here where it comes down. That's where you can't really grab it up any higher. And most of the time you want to be able to spin it up there. So the ergonomics is kind of wonky on it. See, with this one you put it right there and then you're spinning it right up here. That's where you naturally want to spin it to put tension on the little turnstile up there. So with this one you kind of naturally want to grab it up here where that thing is. But you can't spin that. That doesn't work. So you want to spin it down here, and that's kind of, it's not that great of a place. So the ergonomics are kind of not that great on it. As far as being able to double drive it, let's do an example here. All right, I've got an electronic device that I want to take apart. Most of the time you're going to be holding what you're trying to take apart with one hand and using the screwdriver in the other hand. So that's not a big deal, especially since it's ratcheting. It just acts as a normal ratchet, and it works pretty well. And in ratchet mode, you don't really need to grab it up there anyways. But if you've ever taken apart like a laptop or something with or a hard drive, something with really tight Torx bits, you really need to push down on that while you're turning it. And if you're doing that, you can't really grab it where you naturally want to grab it, because you want to be pushing down and turning at the same time, and the ergonomics just aren't there for that. So I think I just decided I'm not going to even bother carrying this around. Now if it was something more large and stationary, you could do that double drive thing, and a lot of times screws and plastics are going to be loose enough that you could probably use the double drive setup. But most of the time I want to use my other hand to grab the screw or hold the device still. In all honesty, I do not recommend this product at all. I mean, I'm going to keep my small screwdriver set, wherever that went. There it is. I'm going to go ahead and keep this. I got all my bits, I got an extension, it's got the turny end, and it does everything I want. I'll put a link down in the description below for something like this. This is a Husky setup, but I've seen these. I think even Kobalt makes one of these. This is pretty cheap and inexpensive set. You can get a good one on Amazon. I'll put a link down there for that. And the same thing with this. All you really need is a good bit set, and you do want to keep a good ratcheting screwdriver on hand. But that's a good one. So what's the verdict? If you get one as a gift, you might find situations where it's useful. I do a lot of electronics, I do mechanic work all the time, I do handyman stuff, and I'm just not going to go to my toolbox and grab this. I'm going to grab my impact, or I'm going to grab the bit I need and a good ratcheting screwdriver. It's just too heavy, too big, too bulky, and the frickin' double drive thing does not work as it's supposed to. So I'm gonna say no on that. Sorry Lowe, sorry Kobalt. It's just not practical. Alright, be sure to check out my other video. I'm gonna do a review on this Magnum grip pliers. It's self-adjusting channel locks here next. Those are from Kobalt also. Let me know if that's worth buying. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and check the video description below for more juicy details.